Welcome to Agency Bytes, a podcast for agency owners, hosted by agency veteran and coach Steve Guberman. Agency Bytes is a podcast focused on delivering actionable agency information from agency experts in about 25 minutes. Why 25 minutes? Because who has the attention span for much more these days? And you can squeeze in a listen between meetings with time for a bathroom break or coffee refill before your next meeting.
Thanks for tuning in. This is Bite-Sized Agency Briefs. I'm your host, Steve Guberman from Agency Outsight, where I coach agency owners to build the agency of their dreams. Today, I am beyond excited to be speaking with my longtime friend, Debra Rizzi. She's a partner and president of Rizco, which is a women-owned, brand-led marketing agency that she and her husband co-founded more than 20 years ago. Deb, thank you so much for spending time with me today. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you, Steve, for having me.
So first I want to ask, talk about Rizco with your husband, who, by the way, I went to high school with. Always have to throw that out there. I think it's a brilliant small world thing. But the things that I want to dig into with you as a friend, and I've seen your agency grow over the years and some of the strategic decisions you've made to grow and scale back and things like that. I'm curious, what was the launch like where you and Keith said, yeah, let's go into business and this is going to be amazing? Or what was that process like for you guys?
Abnormal. It was not normal at all. It is a long story that I will make brief. Our business was actually born out of family tragedy. His dad owned an agency. We worked at Porter Novelli together, and I was the production manager of the department, and Keith was the senior designer. Yes, we did wind up dating. You always say, no, I'm not going to date anybody at work. But when you live at work, it sort of happens. But his dad owned a smaller production agency as well and fell ill. And Keith was forced to step in and was happy to step in and take care of the business while his dad was recovering. And I was in the process of interviewing for other jobs, and it just got to be too much. And he's like, can you come over and help me manage this during that time? And what it comes down to is you really don't realize how many relationships you're fostering in an agency setting until you get pulled into another situation. So yes, we were happy to be able to support his family through a very difficult time, but also so thankful that we had fostered relationships with other agency members that went on to firms that didn't have creative. So we found ourselves in a very fortunate situation of launching a subsidiary underneath his dad's company and having work right from the start.
Yeah. Was dad, so I remember his family. I don't think I remember that dad had an agency. Was it called Rizco or was it something different?
No, it was called Joe Rizzi Associates, and it was more back in the day where a lot of the larger agencies would conceptualize an ad campaign and then they would pass off all the production work. So it was a cash cow. I mean, he would resize artwork for every single newspaper and publication in the country, whereas more so we were the full circle agency model. When we moved to New Jersey, Joe Rizzi Associates was retired and Rizco was standing on its own.
Gotcha. Yeah. And you guys, one of your original kind of niches that you just kind of alluded to was being the creative for PR firms. And hot on your heels, I launched my agency. I was like, that's brilliant. And so thank you for that inspiration. Is that a niche you guys stayed in? Do you still play there? What's the composition of Rizco these days?
Yeah, it is very different. From agency model, we definitely took. I mean, the accountability model, research, the transparency, all of those key core values we've carried through from agency. But as far as working directly with the agencies, you've seen that a lot of those have been bought out by larger conglomerates that have creative media, digital agencies that are all baked in. And the world of the traditional letterhead and press kit died as digital went on. So we were able to see two things. We were seeing that start to dwindle and to move away, but we also saw the opportunity of growing and expanding our capabilities so that we could be a retainer-based extension So today we are a mix per project, but a large majority of our clients are retainer based, where we're acting as their external marketing team.
Direct to brands primarily?
Yes.
And in what industries, or like, do you have niche industries you play in, or do you send
Um,
send Jill out and say, get anything you can hunt these days?
no. I mean, as you have, hey, when you're starting out, yes, you have to
Hmm.
start somewhere and then figure out, okay, where is it that we're navigating? We're much more strategic about it.
Yeah.
We do have a proprietary research-based process, so it does allow us to work in any different industry, and we like to keep a mix so that our designers don't get old. And also, too, as you expose yourself to nonprofit, consumer, B2B, B2C, you learn different, modalities as you're getting exposed to them. But as far as volume and price point, definitely healthcare and construction are two
Okay.
verticals that are very healthy for our growth.
Nice. So, at what point did you make the decision to become a certified women-owned business?
It wasn't my decision. It wound up being, so Jill Nappy is my VP of sales, and
Hmm.
she's out there learning and rubbing elbows with many other business owners, and she's heavily engaged with professional women in construction and has been surrounded by thought leaders who had the certification and kept poking her, saying, you could open up a few more doors if you had this.
Hmm.
um, who in 23 years without, I've always been president of the organization, but it was finally last year that I said, you know what, Jill, you're right. I'm listening. We have to evolve. We need to do this. And so we decided to take the leap. And, as we grow as business owners, you learn, your success is based upon surrounding yourself by people that are smarter than you and
Hmm.
know how to do things. So I relinquished and I said, I am not doing this on my own. I'm going to hire somebody to help me get through the process.
Hmm. Was that recommended by somebody else that had tried to do themselves and found out how painful it was? Because I've heard mixed reviews of it's 6 to 9 months of massive dedication and total pain in the assery, or you could hire somebody for a few grand, or so. Yeah, somebody suggested that you hire somebody.
They did. We
Mm-hmm.
use Certify My Company. So certifymycompany.com is the URL
Mm-hmm.
for that. They were fantastic. It is true. It can be as small as 3 months, but it's typically a 5 to 6 month, based upon you pulling together all the assets that you need to give them. And honestly, from my perspective, it was 10 hours of dedicated time of pulling what I needed to. And then they took it from there, as far as knowing how things should be structured, what the application should look like. And then, the last piece is an actual interview. And so they were
Mm-hmm.
able to prepare me for that interview and earmark, these are some of the tough questions that you might get thrown your way, and make sure that you have solid answers for them prepared before you go into that interview. But, anybody that's looking to do this, yeah, you need to have your operating agreement, your business formation forms, your bank signature card. They dig. It's almost like giving blood, honestly.
Yeah.
But having somebody that this is all that they do it was an efficient process for us.
Well, it was 10 hours of your time and some money to somebody else versus probably hundreds of your own hours.
Hundreds. Yeah. So if you
Yeah.
look at your billing rate and
Yeah.
then also the stress level, and it's taking you away from things that you could be doing,
Yep.
it was a very smart investment. And also too, I like sharing this tip. You get a quote from somebody, and it's typically based upon the size of your business. And like any contract, they throw out those payment terms. And, we asked, really, can you retainer this out? It's going to probably be a 5 to 6 month
Hmm.
engagement. So can you break this up into smaller chunks just so I can spread it out over the quarters that you're going to be working on it? And they were happy to do that. So
Nice.
that, I like sharing that tip, because you get the number and you're like, you pause. Mm-mm. It
Yeah.
Perfect. Done.
Oh, that's a great tip. Yeah, because most people are like, "Oh, I can't afford X up front," and they don't even think, "How do I make a recommendation or ask for something that's more flexible?"
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a risk on Certify My Business to accept that even under contract, because let's say something, God forbid, something goes really bad with the business 3, 4 months in, and you're like, "Oh, I can't afford this now." But so fast forward, you get the certification, big celebration. I'm sure Rizco had a party about it. What has it done for the biz dev process? From Jill's standpoint, from door opening for you, for the team, what has it done for you guys?
It has been amazing for us. It is like anything else. If you get it and you just expect it to activate on its own, that's a false pretense. You
Hmm.
you need to do your work. And the truth is that so much money is being invested in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and all of the large corporations have developed programming around it. There's funding around it. So the first thing that we did is dig into the portals of these large organizations, and then to start seeing, okay, where does it make sense? What verticals can we get through? There are different tiers. For us, our biggest success so far is Port Authority. Uh,
Mm.
they have an incredible opportunity for diverse organizations to get business. Their procurement department is completely accessible and had a great discussion with us. And you have to understand, you have this first certification, you then need to get reapproved by these other organizations. They have their own processes, but it does
By
help.
the private organizations? Okay.
Yes. They then relook at what you have. Same thing with NJ Start. So NJ Start is if you want to be part of the governmental contracts, you have to re-upload a lot of your information
Hmm.
and go through their certification process. But our success rate with Port Authority was number one with procurement, of them vetting us and seeing that there was an opportunity and a hole that needed to be filled, and for them to move us on to their agency. So they have a wonderful agency, Campbell Ewald. So maybe I lied earlier that I'm not working with agencies. I still am in a very high level. In this case, where they handle most of the work for Port Authority, but then they have specific requirements of how much work needs to be given to a minority owned, woman owned business. So we were then re-interviewed by them, and we got the check marks very quickly. And now we're moving into our second contract engagement with them in a
Wow.
year. So that's from a client perspective. The second thing is that WBENC, which is Women Business Enterprise National Council, that's where you get your certification from. The resources are absolutely over the top. We're part of the New York Metro chapter. We get emails from national and also the New York chapter regularly, online educational courses about finances, professional development. For me in particular, I had the opportunity to apply to go to Minneapolis with 100 other women to learn about EOS, which is the Entrepreneurial Operating System.
Hmm.
That's infrastructure. Learning about what infrastructure you should be putting into your business. That was sponsored by Wells Fargo, and 3 days, high level. They covered a large majority of this educational platform, and I was surrounded by thought leaders from every crevice of the United States. So, not
And tons
only
of
does it,
different size businesses and types of businesses, and so it's networking on top of, we want to invest back into your business. If you're a WeBank certified business owner, we want you to run properly. We want you to have the infrastructure. We want to know you're here for the long haul and you're doing things efficiently and well-oiled machine. They want to rely on solid businesses. So that makes amazing sense. Yeah.
incredible, absolutely
Yeah.
incredible. So for those people who are considering, and it's not just the women owned, it's the, veteran owned, minority owned, there are huge opportunities. It is an investment, but if you pay, really take the time and you push through and you pay it forward, it comes back full circle.
Yeah, but I also I know business owners who have gone through the certification for whether it's minority, women-owned, business-owned, or veteran-owned, and they don't lean into it, and they don't, find the opportunities and the portals, and they just expect it to knock on their door, and it doesn't. And they're like, "Why did I waste all this time and energy?"
Hmm.
Um, do you now run on EOS? Was that something that was attractive to you when you learned about it in Minnesota?
It is very attractive. That is a 2024 goal for us. We've taken a portion of EOS and we've implemented it already in our leadership team and also
Mm,
how we're structuring our meetings. And it's been since May. Already you can see the ROI on just one small portion of it being implemented. And it's a big time investment.
mhm.
The rest of the team will be switched over at the beginning of 2024.
So for less listeners, Deb referenced it's been since May. That's 4 months she's seen a gain. And I'm not an EOS salesperson. I'm not an implementer. I was very close to going down that path. I absolutely love EOS. I kind of pull segments and pieces of it into my coaching and my group coaching. So 4 months, she's seen night and day difference, which is massive. So that's very exciting. I'd be excited to hear like another 4 months after you get everybody on board in 2024, what that shift is like for you, because from goal setting and mentor development and meeting operation, I mean, there's just so many levels to it. That's just amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And also, too, at this event, we learned that they're creating networks within networks. So if
Hmm.
you're an EOS provider, they're working on a platform so that EOS businesses do business with each other. So it's almost like
Oh,
another level of certification within a certification. So if we can move our networks any more quickly to help support our businesses, it definitely makes sense.
yeah. And one thing, I mean, if I can say one thing that you have always, I've seen just blow the doors off of its networking and building relationships. And you're not just like I'll call you every 12 months relationship builder. You're like an authentic relationship builder, like to the core. And I've seen you in action, and it's just like it's inspiring. And the authenticity is something I believe you carry into your agency, and it carries into you, or one way or the other. But that also comes out in how you guys give back in your community and how Rizco is so involved in so many different organizations. And I think you kind of always have been, right?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you for that compliment. I appreciate it so much. And, um, we don't get where we are with the help of others. And that's
Hmm.
the bottom line. There's always somebody
Yeah.
who opened a door for me or helped me get to be where I am today. So
Yeah.
I feel like it really is a responsibility level for us to do the same for others. And for Rizco, number one is education, getting involved with students and being a part of. I'm currently on the board of the Wall Business and Finance Academy. I had the great opportunity of being on Bucknell's Alumni Association board for 8 years. The students are our future. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a yin yang. We're learning from them as much as they're learning from us. So it definitely helps to keep us relevant. And then, of course, you look for those organizations that pull on your heartstrings. So, particularly in this year, the Lattice Network and also the Society for the Prevention of Teen Suicide are two organizations that are very close to our hearts. As Lattice Network supports people with severe disabilities, and they support like 3,500 individuals in Monmouth and Ocean County who
Wow.
have been born with severe disabilities and need that structure throughout their whole life. And then, of course, SBTS. We are in a critical moment of making sure
Hmm.
that our children are safe and that they're mentally sound. So, both of those are two that are very close to our hearts and that we've been giving back to this year.
Yeah, I love that. And I know you guys used to do, I think it was like a year adoption program where you would like pull in a not for profit through an application process and just like dedicate a year of work to them, which I always thought was so magical to see. So yeah, it's ingrained in your culture, which I think is really beautiful.
And a lot of times, if you go back to your employees, they're the ones that are bringing something up. It's not a top down by any means. We're finding that because we do allow our employees to give back to their communities, they're bringing those opportunities to us.
Yeah.
So like Habitat for Humanity and Big Brothers Big Sisters, those came from our employees, those
Yeah.
relationships.
We used to do that. I mean, you tap into them and say what means something to you, whether it's from give back or even biz dev, like what brands do you want to work on that we can kind of chase down, which I think is pretty cool to do.
Do you have favorite
Um,
ones as well?
Pardon?
Do you have favorite nonprofits that you support as well?
It's shifted over the years. Most recent, for obvious or not so obvious reasons, the AFSP, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, is very
Mhm.
near and dear to my heart.
Mhm.
So it's probably the biggest one that I've been involved in for the past 3 years. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
So we
Uh,
share that common chord.
yes. Yeah. So talk about, thinking about culture and Rizco, and as you guys have evolved over the years, you've had amazing, cool spaces. You're now remote. How have you found ways to maintain the core values that you and Keith instilled 20 something years ago, and as the team has ebbed and flowed and from in person to virtual?
Yeah, so it depends upon which partner you talk to about this virtual setting. My husband Keith, my partner in crime every single day, he has mixed feelings about, especially creatives being separated. And we've used
Hmm.
Zoom and, collaboration and a lot of structure to keep us connected. We have standing meetings with our teams every single month. We do a deep dive into the business to share important key learnings. But we've also mixed it up so that every quarter we're doing some kind of big event. We were very fortunate because this past week we had New Jersey Ad Club Awards, and then one of our
Hmm.
staff members got married. So to be able to be together 2 days in 1 week was an extra special treat. It's about listening and learning, and I'm finding that at this point in time, we're built of 80% women, and a lot of them have children or they need that flexibility.
Mm.
Our team is so solid, and I'm very thankful for them. They're doing it. They're doing it well. They're balancing it. Are there tough times? Yes.
Hmm.
Sometimes is there a challenge with communication? Yes. But I find that they give sometimes 250% because they do have the flexibility
Yeah.
to manage work and life, and they're present for their families, which is important in today's day and age.
And it's a vital trade-off. Like, you give them that ability, they give you that much more when they're on the clock. And uh, I think both sides of that relationship across a number of businesses really lean into that and appreciate it. What's your day to day, like as co-owner and president? What's your day to day? You're not doing design, or you never really were into design, but you're doing strategy. But you tell me, what do you day to day?
My days are insane. It is a constant, everybody's like, more work-life balance, more work-life balance. I love what I do. And no, I'm not formally trained in design. I got that through osmosis of just being exposed throughout my career. I do bridge on both sides of stepping in, and I'm not a lead project manager, but I am still present with my major clients. So
Hmm.
I'm sitting in on those meetings. I do a lot of audit work. So research is the foundation for everything that we do. So I'm in there digging into the data, questioning, making sure that the clients are getting the ROI, because measurement is everything, and you can't hide, because
Hmm.
if you're not getting a metric, you're not doing something right.
Yeah.
So keeping us on track there, meetings, new business, metrics, um, involved in the growth, looking at where does the agency need to go in the future. And so there's this whole other operations arm of keeping us relevant and moving the business forward. And sometimes that's a struggle. Like my leadership
Hmm.
team, sometimes they're like, Deb, the internal stuff has to go on the back burner. And I'm like, nope, you got to treat it like a client. because if we don't keep evolving, then we're going to die.
Yeah.
So it is really busy. I work long hours. A lot of times if you email me at 10, 11 o'clock, you're going to get a quick response. And that's something that I personally am trying to work on. But I am still heavily engaged with the business, my employees, and building and growing it.
Yeah, I love that. I think you've always been hands-on, which is very cool. And the fact that you're pushing your team to treat it like a client, which is a trick that we've all tried and so many of my clients try. And yeah, it's still the first client to get pushed to the side when there's a deadline.
No, that email blast must go out. It is September. Yeah. It must drop. So you'll see, it will drop.
Watch for the loop. I can't wait. So, all right, I want to switch gears real quick. Couple of random rapid fire questions for you. So the first is, what is something that you are binging the heck out of, whether it's digital or otherwise, personal or professional, that you just can't get enough of these days?
That I can't get enough of. You're going to love and hate this one. I am using ChatGPT very regularly, and it's helping with ideation. It's helping us with processes, and I'm using it even with my own children. They're in college and they're like, I'm stuck on a topic for blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, there you go. I'm really good at research. Here you go. Move it forward. So that is one thing. And then the second thing is really trying to break that conundrum of what really makes the analytics, what drives the needle with digital ads. Because there's so many variations when you're looking at Google and social, and one month it's awesome and the next one it's dropping off, and really trying to find the secret sauce to make everything consistent for a client.
Yeah. Okay. I love it. What's a tool that you've recently integrated into your life, digital or physical, personal or professional, that you just can't imagine? How did I previously live without this tool?
Okay, I'm 1 week in, but I'm doing the Aura ring.
Oh, cool.
And I love it. My goal is to reduce stress. And so being able to monitor and pinpoint and create data around my whole body and know, did I actually sleep well last night? When do I need to take a break? It's telling me I need to get off my computer. I usually don't have technology on me. And I feel like this is going to make my mental and physical state that much better.
Very exciting. I want to hear some results from you after a month or two down the road.
Sounds good.
And then finally, whether it's a budding professional in their thesis at school, or a budding entrepreneur or seasoned entrepreneur, what is a vital piece of business advice that you can impart on our listeners?
Oh, that's a good one. It's a really good one. It's no matter how glossy things look on the outside, there's always a struggle that's happening behind the scenes. And staying true to yourself and your course, it will happen. Continue to stay positive and know what it is you want, and say that out loud, and you will get there. And to build upon that when you're struggling, continue to build that network, because your network will be there for you. It's a matter of asking for help and letting them know that you need to lean on them. And also too, I always go back to research, look at what's working, not working. And that goes with our professional and personal lives.
Yeah.
Really look at those buckets and say, okay, what minutia can go away? What will really help me move forward? And then finally having gratitude, reflect on the good versus the bad or the sad. We do a lot of great things on a daily basis, but we rarely don't go, okay, that was great. And I am going to mention this. My daughter goes to Quinnipiac, and she's a rugby player. And Coach Becky said something. She's like, when you do something good, you have to physically remind yourself sometimes. And so as I just patted myself, sometimes you need to do that, create that one physical motion of, all right, I did something good and I'm going to do the pat or I'm going to do the punch. If the punch turns into a bruise, then that means you're doing a lot of good. So I found that to be a physical reminder that you've done something good in your day is something that I think we all need to do a little bit more with ourselves.
I love that. I think it's pretty vital to acknowledge what we're doing, but don't acknowledge it too hard that we hurt ourselves. Kind of like pride, right? Pride can be one of those 7 deadly sins, but it's also important to take pride in things. So finding that balance. So,
Yep.
Deb, my friend, I just love you to death. I'm so grateful for your time. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode.
Right back at you. Thank you so much. I'm so thankful for our decades of relationship.
Thanks again for tuning in to Agency Bytes. Leave a 5-star rating and a thoughtful review if you liked what you learned. If you didn't, DM me and tell me how I can make the show better. I respond to every single message and I value feedback.